Hello, everybody. Thank you, Andra, for the introduction. I would like to start with a quick disclaimer. I want you to know that during this talk, no cat or kitten will be hurt. Even though they are falling from the skies, you can see that they are actually jumping with a parachute, and they land safely, so you don't have to worry about that. However, today we will be speaking about a data breach that recently happened, and as Andra mentioned, led to the leakage of a lot of information belonging to the Romanian government. And the agenda for today, in the first part of the presentation, I will tell you the story of the attack. Then we will reconstruct it, and first manually, then automatically, and at the end we will draw some conclusions. Before we begin, just a few words about myself. I'm a hacker at heart. I've been working in the infosec industry for more than 15 years. And a big part of this time was spent doing penetration testing and offensive security work. And in the last years, I've been busy running a cybersecurity company called Pentest Tools. At Pentest Tools, we are creating a product for penetration testing and vulnerability assessments that can be used by our customers to detect vulnerabilities before being hacked by real attackers. And the second disclaimer of today is that I am not the author of the vulnerability or the exploit that I will present today. I have just gathered the pieces and put them together to create the story for you. And all the information that you see in this presentation is already public. So let's start with the story. It all began in a warm summer day when our kitten, who is the main character of this talk, was bored to death. So what does every bored kitten do? It actually scrolls the internet and see what's new. And at some point on its Telegram channel, it found out about a new exploit, a fresh new exploit, which affected the software called Cloud Panel, and which allowed everybody to actually gain shell on this server with root access very easily. And now what does this kitten do? Let's actually start hunting for some shells. So by querying Shodan, he found out that there were more than 13,000 Cloud Panel instances spread all over the internet. And he just ran the exploit against all of them. And after waiting for some time, he found himself over a pile of shells. Shells everywhere. About 10K servers vulnerable to Cloud Panel. And after that, he started digging through the data to see what he discovered. And he found out that one of them was interesting. Why? Because it belonged to a government entity, especially one of the Romanian governments. Basically, the Ministerul Cercetării, Inovării și Digitalizării, whatever that is. But it was interesting because it was Gov website. And now, what does the kitten should do about it? So the first thing it comes to its mind is to do a facelift of the website, because it was very boring. And this is how the website looked on the 23rd of July. And in order to leave its mark, what better name for a hacker kitten would be than KittenSec. Basically, this is the true name of the hacker group that the author of the exploit of the attack was part of. And after that, he started digging through the data to see what he gained access to. And on that server, there were multiple instances of WordPress with multiple sites on the same server. And of course, he dumped all the files from there, the databases, and somehow he managed to gain access to a bunch of emails. And those emails were pretty interesting because they belonged to a lot of Romanian authorities, like ISU Prahova, Jandarmeria Târgu Mureș, ANSVSA, and other Romanian authorities. All of them belong, making about 30-something gigabytes. And what do you find if you look through some emails? Of course, you find passwords. You find passwords to a lot of other services. And our kitten started to pivot to other connected applications. And he managed to gain access to some application that was keeping track of the police car fleet, showing the locations of the police cars. Also OMV Fleet Online. And another interesting one was the extranet of the European Union. Here are some documents from that leak. These screenshots, you can find them right now on that URL right up there. And the interesting one is this one from here, because you can see it says, one account, many EU services. So he managed to access to the single sign-on of this European Union entity. Other reports, these are pretty boring actually, but the attacker, since he was not speaking Romanian, as I think, found them interesting and leaked them there. And at the end, what should we do with all the data? Just pack it into a nice torrent, put it all online, and let's start to brag about it. And they published an article called How to Easily Own a Country and the European Commission. From my point of view, these are very highly stated facts, because the real impact, I don't think it was very, very big. But yeah, let's brag about it. Now, the true timeline of the events was that the vulnerability was found on the June 1st by a security researcher called Muhammad Aizat. We'll talk a little bit later about that. Then on June 12th, it was privately disclosed to the vendor. The vendor released a patch on June 20th. Okay? And the author of the vulnerability also released a public exploit a month after the vendor released the patch. And the face month was on July 23rd. So there was more than a month when the administrators of those websites could have patched them, but they failed to do so. Yeah, this is the difference, the important timelines. Okay, so this was the first part of the presentation with the story. And let's go to the second part, where we will try to dig deep into the vulnerability and try to recreate the attack. So the vulnerability has this CVE number. It's also called falling skies. And that's why the kittens are falling from the skies. And it was discovered by this security researcher, Muhammad Aizat. I think it's from Malaysia. And from the security company, .tak. The vulnerability affects this cloud panel. This cloud panel is a server administration software, which allows you to install multiple instances of, let's say, WordPress on the same server with just a few clicks. Remember, this is a free application, but it's not open source. This is an important detail. This is how a Cloud Panel looks like when the login interface. After you log in, you can create this type of sites. WordPress, Node.js, Python, whatever, and it automatically configures them for you. Here are 2 sample sites that I have configured for demo. And when you enter one of them, you discover this component. It's called the file manager, which does what its name says, basically allows you to create or delete files and manage files on the server. Now, why this is important? This is important because the vulnerability lies in this component, in the file manager. And here is a default request to the file manager. You can see here that the browser sends 2 cookies. One is called Cloud Panel, which is the session cookie, and the second one is called CLP FM. CLP comes from Cloud Panel and FM from File Manager. So you basically need these 2 cookies to access the File Manager component. However, the security researchers discovered that the file manager can actually be accessed without the first cookie, without the session cookie, so without any authentication. And the question is, how can we obtain the second one so we actually gain access to the file manager without any authentication? And they found out that it was encrypted with the default secret key. I'll show you right now. So this is the request to file manager without the session cookie. It's actually the same result. And right now, what's about with the second cookie? If we look at the source code of the PHP application, it looks like this. So by default, it is obfuscated. And I don't think any security researcher would be willing to do source code review on this type of code. But after we deobfuscate the code, it looks a little bit clearer. And let's take a look at these lines of code from the backend file. So the code starts with a user variable, which at the end will hold the user performing the current operation when accessing the file manager. And you can see that there is a variable here called encrypted data, which is taken from exactly from the cookie value. So the CLP-FM, which comes from the browser. Next, we decode the cookie value from base64. And then the application decrypts the data. But the question is, which is the encryption key? So it did a decryption without a key, meaning that it was either a default key used by the encryption library, or it was just an empty key. After that, it does unserialize the data, which transforms it into an object, and at the end, it gets the user value from that object and uses it after that in the execution. So this is the famous CLP-FM cookie decrypted, and you can see that it's a serialized array, and it contains two members, users equals CLP. And why CLP? Because it's the highest privileged user that this cloud panel installs on the server, and it is able to manage all the sites from the server, all the websites. And now we as attackers, we just are able to regenerate that cookie and use it independently in our exploit. So this is a piece of code which does the reverse operation. It does encrypt that key, that cookie, and it does encode base64, and we just obtain this cookie value from here. And in order to get a shell on Cloud Panel, we need just these two simple operations. The first one is calling an endpoint to make the file with the name shell.php. And the second call is to put a piece of PHP code into the file. And I will try to show it to you right now. And of course, this is the kitten praying to the demo gods. Of course, we're asking ourselves where do we get a vulnerable cloud panel application? And I'm introducing you right now Pentest Ground. Pentest Ground is a free resource that we at Pentest Tools made public, and it contains multiple vulnerable web applications that anybody can use to test their vulnerability scanners and their skills. And here at the end of the list, we find the cloud panel. So this is how it looks like. And if we do some, if we enter some random URL here, you can see that we are redirected to the login page. However, if we go to the file manager, we can see that we are not redirected because, as I said, it doesn't need the session cookie. Okay, and right now we will try to create a shell here that we will simply call shell.php, which right now doesn't exist. And in order to create it, I have prepared these two requests. So the first one is a post request to the file manager to create the file. And it has the name shell.php. And we do send. We receive a successful response. And after that, if we go here, we don't. It's an empty file, but it's there. And in the second request, we set the content of the file by accessing the second endpoint. And we will put a simple PHP code which will execute a command. We do send. We receive a successful message. And in order to test it, let's put the CMD, let's say, ID. Okay, and you see that it comes with the CLP panel, which I said it's the highest privileged user, which, guess what, has also sudo privileges. I'm trying to do this with a single hand. So yeah, this is the way the exploit works and gains root access on the server. Well, that was the simple, that was the manual way of exploiting this vulnerability. And now I want to show you the automated way to do that. We at Pentest Tools have, wow. Have created a database with all the vulnerabilities that the platform can detect. And here we will search for this CVE. And we can see a detection that was added still in July this year, so very close to the date of the attack. And we also have an exploit module for that. So in order to just run it, I'll need some extra minutes in this talk because I have to do this with a single hand. So. I have logged in into my Pentest Tools account, and at the assets section, if the internet works, I have this cloud panel target added, and I just need to select it and scan with the tool with the network scanner. As we saw here in the database, it says that is detectable with the network scanner. And we will leave the deep scan with the default options. We do a start scan. And yeah, the scan has started, but I won't wait until the scan finishes. I will show you a finished scan. Okay, so the scanner detected the vulnerability, and it's not just a simple version-based detection. It did an actual active scan, and it says that it has uploaded a web shell and executed the ID command and got a response that managed to execute code as root. So this is actually the automated way of doing what I previously did manually. And if you want to further see what is the true impact of this vulnerability, I mean, what you can get from that server, a good way would be to validate this issue with a dedicated exploitation tool. We have this in Pentest tools, it's called Sniper. And what it does, after it gains code execution, it automatically extracts a lot of evidence from the server in order to prove the impact. So we will start Sniper. And what it does, it does the same flow. So checking for open ports, trying each vulnerability that matches the fingerprint, and so on. And a final result of that is in the scans. Waiting for the internet. Okay, so target successfully exploited. We have the console here, which shows the all the steps performed by the tool. And it says that Sniper managed to obtain remote code execution as root in this folder. And here are the artifacts that have been automatically extracted. So it extracted all the operating system users and with their password hashes that can be further cracked to pivot to the system. The list of processes that are running on the server, the disk drive. It has extracted some files to have an overview of what is on the server. And if we go, so our shell that we have manually implanted is here in home CLP directory, htdocs app, data, not data, files, public, I think. Okay, so here are some other attempts that I have previously done. So this is the shell that I have manually put on the server. Okay, so this way an automatic exploitation can be done in order to very easily validate the vulnerability. Now, let's go back to the last part of the presentation, so to the conclusions. So I would advise the system administrators that take care of our data from the public sector to not use immature software just because it's very easy to use and just because it's free. It's not a good selling point. And patch as soon as the vendor releases one because it's important. And of course, pen test yourself and do periodic security testing to not get hacked. These are some references, and I want to thank OpenAI's DALI project because allowed me to do these beautiful characters. So thank you very much, and if you have questions, I'm here.
Ooh, thank you, Adi. Thanks so much. Well, that was quite exciting and quite a full house as well. We'll take a couple of questions. We have keep your hand up. And if you could also stand up when you ask your question, that makes it easier for the speaker to see you in the room.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It was very good. I have a question. Do you happen to know, it's about the Romanian institutions, how vulnerable are the Romanian institutions? We saw your example, what happened. Do you happen to know if other sides of the Romanian authorities are using this kind of open sources, are not patching? Is some kind of statistics about what's our current situation?
You do realize that this information that you're asking is not public, and we did not do a full scan of every Romanian institution, and we are not allowed to do that. I did this presentation because the data is already public, but we should be aware that vulnerabilities are everywhere. But it's a matter of, it's a game of cat and mouse, meaning that the system administrators must always keep up to date with the latest vulnerabilities that appear. So no system is safe from my point of view.
Okay. Who's next? Come on, we got hats. Back there, keep your hand up, please. Okay, we're gonna go to the back after that. Please, if you could stand up.
Hi. You said that yeah, you should do a pen test when you're
A little bit louder, please.
Yes, sorry. You said that you should do a pen test when you're introducing new services, for example, like it was this one. Do you also recommend re-pen testing, doing periodically tests again, of course, on top of the vulnerability scans?
Can you repeat, please? So do I recommend what?
How often do you recommend a retesting, a re-pen test?
Oh, retesting. So it depends on the budget, I think. But the best way, I think, it would be if you have in-house resources, then you can do it more often. But first of all, if you put some new system in place, I would say it's mandatory to do a security assessment against it. And I don't know. There are people who do it twice a year, let's say. This is much too less. So the more often, the better. I don't think there is a good practice around this. Depends on the maturity level of the company, I guess. But the more often you check, the more often now it increases the probability that you find the vulnerabilities.
Just like when you go to have your blood tested, there's probably something there already. There's one last question at the back. Keep your hand up, please. Keep your hand up. Almost there.
Hello. I know it's a hard job to actually test and see what kind of vulnerabilities appear. I know it from a sysadmin position. And I'm thinking, do you have any initiative about collaborating with the authorities? This way you can actually scan with their permission. Or do you know if others have this initiative?
So from what I know, there are some groups inside the Romanian authorities that are allowed to periodically scan the public infrastructure. We at Pentest Tools do not have this type of collaboration, but we are open to it if anybody asks us to.